Hello, mayors. Hello, mayoresses. How are you all doing? I hope you're well. We're here to start another episode of Bahia de Barbosa. If you like this series, please leave your like here at the beginning of the video. If you're not subscribed yet, please also subscribe here at the beginning. After all, we're moving together towards 5,000 subscribers. So help increase even more the population of this great city called Barbosa Cities channel. All right? While you enjoy this tour along the coast of our German city, let's go to today's episode, all right? Well, and today, I want to continue expanding our city, meeting the demands. In the last episodes, we really focused here, on our heavy industrial zone, which is running at full steam, right? We spent quite a few episodes here. We created 34,000 jobs, right? Just for comparison, this one here, has 16,000 jobs. So it's more than double. And not to mention, our mine, which is also running at full steam here. When we started these projects, we didn't have any demand for any of these specializations, right? Neither residential nor commercial. The commercial demand hasn't picked up yet, but the residential is already back. And I'm hesitating a little to zone it. Why? If we open it here, the city's unemployment panel is still at 21%. That's a lot, man, okay? So, I don't want to bring more people in just to have them unemployed and make this unemployment rate go up. We have 126,000 employees and 127,000 jobs, so there are no more openings. So, I don't really understand why this demand is so high. Actually, the right thing would be for me to build more industries. But we've already been building industry after industry for many episodes, right? So let's take advantage of this little demand here to grow a bit. Our island, our American New York style island, right? But let's focus here on our New York City, which we haven't paid attention to in a long time, right? It's kind of stagnant here, and it's a really cool city project. Well, I'm gonna start then by increasing the density with high density, this side of the park here, okay? Since we have a demand for high density. For those of you who missed zoning in Bahia de Barbosa, welcome back. Look, these two buildings have already cut the demand here in half. I think 2 more here would solve the problem, right? Which in fact it did. We also have a demand for medium density, which I can address a little farther out here by placing these duplex houses that will meet the medium density needs. It's a little harder to satisfy, but we'll keep going with this process. It's good that we're already reoccupying some blocks that have been sitting idle here for a long time. See? I took over this part here. And then there are these spaces that I can't, divide up, right? Just like I was dividing up lots here because the subdivision faces this street. Here's a trick I use, which is I'm going to make a path here that will block the zoning of this street and force it to this other side. So we can come here and continue the zoning a little further. All right, this is the limit. I fixed these imperfections on the corners with the makeup tools in cities, Skylines. Of course, you already know I'm talking about vegetation, right? So I mainly use the oak tree here, but for the smaller ones I can use here. The London plane tree to fill these tighter spaces. See? Then we leave this whole part of the street occupied. And over here, we can also do this kind of land occupation. Anyway, it's a very clear before and after for me to do this kind of decoration with vegetation. And over here too, we can even close off this whole strip here. Look, already detailed. Here I'm going to fill it in with trees. And this space here, man, I think we could build some kind of sports complex. Maybe a court and a gymnasium. And here I'm even going to make some paths around it to increase the decoration factor even more. Look, adding some paths inside the square. Actually, it's almost like a mini park, right? Some textures here might be welcome too. And a lot of vegetation as well. And the orange of autumn, right? It makes everything more beautiful. So, did you guys like this little extension here? And it's almost the same as the rest, right? But it's at a different angle. I think it adds a really cool contrast for it to be at a different angle from these here. Okay, we set the medium density until it reached 0, right? Let's take advantage of the fact that we have high density and office density to place some really tall office buildings. Here, look around the park. I think here we could have a nice office building. Yeah, in this generic style. And maybe here along the rest of the street, some New York style offices. They all look pretty much the same, right? These buildings here are pretty much the same. The good thing is they create jobs, right? We need jobs. And the high residential density, which even dropped a bit here, is starting to rise again. Should we add a little here, huh? And finally, my friends, we're left once again with the industrial demand. But we're almost finishing our entire Central Park here, right? On both sides here. And it's looking nice, right? It's looking nice. There's a unique building that I wanted to place right here, and I had already seen that it fits perfectly here. Look, there's this one, right? It's just like the style of that tower. Right in Central Park, really close to Central Park, there's a tower kind of like this in New York, in the United States. But that's not the one I was talking about. Look, there's another one here where you can get a really good position on this side. Look, I've already placed this one here, positioned on this side. It has a base that's set pretty far back here, right? It's not wall-to-wall like the other buildings, but it's all mirrored and really tall, right? I think it's one of the tallest in the city, and I included this one too, which is also among the tallest. But instead of being mirrored, it's all made of solid concrete at the base. Also in the American style, it even has a pretty nice facade. This is the one I was talking about. Look, our Empire State. And I was thinking of placing it right here. Look, centered, of course, facing the park, but centered right here. Look, it's so big that it's even hard to position. So let's see. Look, and it's going to function as an office. It'll be right here at this end. This set of buildings is going to look really cool. And from the park view, it's going to cast a lot of shade on the park, right? Really cool, this inspiration from the Empire State, I believe, right? It seems like a classic reference to the Durko building that we have over there in New York. The demand for offices, so I'll keep filling in offices around the park here. Maybe even adding some walkways here. Because this building here is so special that I think it deserves to be isolated here. Look. And there it is. The south gate of the park will have a very interesting view with these buildings, right? And even for the city's skyline, it looks awesome. Well, offices also mean jobs, so I don't think I'll hold back much on offices here, you know? I'll put another one here and a few more over there, and some in the New York style too. To complete the block right next door. Look, I'll even put affordable housing right in the heart of downtown here. Yeah, go ahead, it's fine, no problem. Do you think there will be shade on this avenue? Do you think the sun will shine a little? Wow, but it's all offices here. Look on both sides. A big corridor of offices, right? Over here too. And as always, when I wander around in this city, right, there's a traffic jam. Everyone's trying to get in through here. Well, while we wait for everything to get back to normal, right? Now look, this overpass here, this Minhokao we built, it was always empty, hardly ever used. We zoned down there, look, people are showing up in large numbers. And let's welcome them with a nice view. Let's make our own Central Park. That gigantic building we had seen. Residential, was it that building? I don't remember. This one here, look, Watanabe Tower, I think I'll put it here in this corner over here, okay? To make a counterpoint with our Empire State Building here, look, they're exactly the same height, man. So this building is gonna look good over here, right? It'll just have to take the place of another one that already exists around here. Let's see which one it is. Look, this is repeated. There's one here and another here, so we can remove both. Because this one is a really small building, right? And this is a valuable address, which is going to get a brand new building here. Oh, let me see. Will it fit perfectly? Won't it fit perfectly? Let me see how it is. It goes here. Look, it stays really close to the other one, right? Even to the point of one part going inside the other building, but that's okay. I think that's just a detail. And details you only notice up close. When you're far away like this, what really matters actually is the view. All right then, let's build the park, and that's it. We need to understand how these roads work here. Yeah, the city has this entrance at these two intersections, right here, right in the heart of downtown. And here is a one-way avenue, 3 lanes, right? That comes and continues all the way down here to the end. And here we have a turnaround. And this part here goes back to this intersection where you can leave the city. And it also gives access to this southern avenue of the park. I was thinking of making it a 2-way street, you see, to connect this side to the other side. Because inside the original Central Park, we have roads cutting through it. Of course, this isn't the original, it's just an inspiration, but we can make this kind of reference, okay? I'm going to try to create an artificial lake here with real water. If it doesn't work, if we cause problems, what I'll do is use fake water. Here, the height of the park is 35.7 meters. So, I'm going to use a reference of 25.7 meters. I always like to do it with minus 10 meters, okay? Ever since Cities, Skylines 1. Set the brush size to 50 and the brush strength to 100. And I'm going to try to make, look, a north lake and maybe a south lake. Let's draw here based on the feeling, and a part here, look, for a lake in the south. Maybe this lake here turned out too big. I'm gonna make it a little smaller. Or maybe I'll make this north lake here a bit smaller. All right, I think it's got a nice shape here, very natural. I think we would have kind of pooled something like this around here. I'm gonna grab the smoothing tool. I'll make the brush size really big so we can cover the whole park here, and lower the brush strength so we don't lose the lake we just created. And look, I imagine here with the brush strength, look who's trying to show up. When does commercial demand start? After 10 episodes. Man, I'm really happy about this because I honestly thought it was a bug, okay? I was trying everything I could here. And look at her showing off here. All right, but let's go. Let's focus here on our Central Park. Look, I'm still pressing here, see, as I think it's even too weak. Let's leave it at 20. And we're going to fix this edge a little bit so it gets smoother. I think it's okay here, all right? It doesn't look like a wall. Now that we're about to add the water, obviously I'm going to save the game because there's a risk this could overflow. Look, lake, constant level water source. So I believe it's this one, okay? Look, it would be interesting if the water came up to about, look, maybe here, look, up to 31.5. All right then, put this water source here and another one here. Let's hit play and wait to see if this is not going to overflow. I'll even open developer mode. Here we have simulation. If I'm not mistaken, it's here, look, in this climate section. No, it's literally written water here, look. In this part, we can change it. The water simulation speed. So let's set it here, look much faster. It's even going to cause a little flooding. But with the water simulation speed, we can see if it's going to overflow or not over time. The water simulation runs at maximum speed here. I don't think it's going to overflow. I think if it was going to overflow, it would have already overflowed. And yeah, it really stopped right at the level where I set it. That's it. Man, I'm happy now, huh? Looks like we did it. All right, so now I'm going to cross the 2-way street. Because here's the thing, we need to pay homage to the original Central Park, and I'm going to make a nice street. Look, it's like a mirrored S right here. Here, I'm going to pull 40 meters this way, 40 meters that way, and make, this descent at a 45-degree angle, right? And here, I think I can already bring it straight to the intersection in a curve. Like this. Now it turned out almost good here. There's a tip. I'll try to fix this part. The curve here is pretty tight, right? I like it this way. It pleases and appeals to me. I think this whole street does, actually. I'm going to update it to be 2-way, okay? because it cuts right through this middle part here, right? So I think it can be two-way. And we have our lake. There's already a motorcycle over there. Look, already braking in the passage, okay? I think I'm even going to change its style, okay? I don't want parking here. It's just a through street. So with the road builder, I'll select this street. I'm going to put grass and trees on the sides. Just by doing that, I already get rid of the parking. I'll also put a small median in the center with grass and trees, and I'll go ahead and update the rest here. Nice, it looks great, just like a real green corridor, right? And if I update the tree, I think it'll look even better. Can you update the sides in the center? This tree is huge. I think I'll update it. With this smaller one here, nice, it looks even better now. Now, I'm not gonna make the path the traditional way, okay? With the pedestrian path, I'm going to do it pretty much like I did here in this German city. I think the result is really cool. I could also replicate similar paths. Freer and wider, right? Not so wide because the idea isn't to make it so much a plaza, but more like a park. So, let's go. And I'm going to connect, of course, the main intersections. First here, look, from one side to the other, making this curve here look parallel to the lake. So I'm going to bring this path up to here, clicking several times, because the more clicks I make, the rounder it gets, right? And then should I make the way back here? All right, the first path here is done. I think I'm going to do pretty much the same thing down here. But here I think I'm going to make it on a bridge, right? A bridge here from one side to the other. It doesn't need to be that high. I think 5 meters would be enough in height here, okay? So here, actually, it would be a fork. One bridge this way and another one that way. All right, and then we come back here to ground level, right, please? I think something like this on a curve is fine. And over here too. Look, on this side here, I made the curve outward. And here I'm going to force the ground level. Why? Because this part of the terrain glitched here, right? But let's see if by creating here, I made a continuation here. It kind of fixed it. I'm going to build a plaza right here in the middle, okay? And with these two ramps, right? Access to the bridges, right? Each one going in a different direction. I think I'll build a bridge here too, okay? These bridges don't really have a very functional purpose. It's really more for the scenery, for tourism, okay? So I think you could make a crossing from here to here. You could also return here to this one. It's like a pedestrian roundabout in the square we'll have here. At the top, I'll bring, look, a very gentle ramp going down, going around the lake. Remember, it's not for such a usual purpose. It's really more for tourism, okay? All right. I think those are the bridge structures. Now I'm returning to the texture of the custom paths we were creating. So I'm going to take another intersection here on the side of the park and bring it, look, to this other intersection here. Make a connection with the bridge, which I think I'll have to do at ground level here, right? So it can remove this fence at the end of the bridge and return here to the intersection at the entrance, right? It ended up like this. Look at this path, right? Very burl marks. Here, look, I'll have to pull a little piece of ground level here so it connects with this path I made, right? There you go. Now I'm going to do this side here. Anyway, I'll keep going. You've already seen more or less how it is, right? And I'll keep filling this up with drawings. Cool, right? Did you watch that quick time lapse? I didn't comment so you could see how the work went. And I did all the paths in the park here, okay? And I also did, besides the paths, somewhere around them. So you can see here, around the paths, it's pretty worn out, right? With a different texture, I also did inside here in these lawns a different shade of grass, okay? And I even put some little flowers, man, dude. You guys have no idea how much work this took, right? And I also put sand texture around the lakes to give it that special touch. Here, right. For the circle, I put a red pavement, and it turned out like this. What did you guys think of the design? It turned out really cool and interesting. Because it's connecting here, look, the sides of the park. I even put in a crosswalk, okay? And people will be able to access it, right? From almost any corner, basically, yeah. Here, also on this street that crosses, I put a crosswalk so people can cross from one side to the other. Alright, so now we're just missing the part, right? This is detailing, focusing on adding texture. I'll start with the bigger trees, of course. And I'm really going to leave these areas here pretty open. To symbolize an area where someone can, I don't know, have a picnic or something like that. And here, look, I'm going to put some trees right in the corner of the paths, okay? And always a bunch of 2 or 3, okay? Like this, really close together. It gives a very natural effect to the landscaping, see? You see? And we're going to fill in the area around the park here, but remember not to make it too dense either, because we'll need space for the other trees. I like to start with this one because it's the one that fills in the most, right? It's the biggest one here, the oak tree. Look, this northern part here is done. Now I'm going to do the southern part. The southern part has a lot of shade, and that's confusing me a bit here, but it's fine. Look, the placement of the first type of trees is done. Now we're going to the second one, the London plane tree. To create the perfect contrast here, look in the spaces that are left. Not too much either, right? But you can put a little more of it than the other one, because it's smaller, right? So to fill the same space, you'll need more of these trees. Alright, and once it's placed here, the second type of tree is placed as well, right? And we did a really nice filling. Man, it really looks like a garden style, doesn't it? It looks awesome now, doesn't it? We're still missing the detailing around here with stones. I want to put some little stones here to also give the pond a cared-for touch. And then I'll start placing some clusters here, right? Some a bit outside the water, some a bit inside the water. I think this detailing will look nice here too. And look at the difference it makes here. It looks much nicer, more well taken care of, right? Much more detailed. So I liked how these stones were placed here, especially here, look, when they go along the sides of the paths. And here in the other pond too, see? So now both ponds have the little stones. Well, I was also thinking about putting in some piers, right? Piers here for leisure. Let me see. I think one here. Let me check here. That would look nice, huh? A little pier here so people can come over here, more or less in the middle of the water. Just look at the view they would have. Awesome. And I think we could put a pier here too, since there's a crosswalk, right? I'll put a pier right here from the crosswalk. That would look cool too. But then we'd have to remove the rock, right? All right, now look, another little pier here so people can take another great picture, huh? This park will be so photogenic. Look at this view. You can't even fit the top of the building in the shot. I think one more pier here wouldn't hurt anyone. Well, now I'm going to select the whole park so it counts as a park area. Here we have spaces, pedestrian, convenience, and park areas. So I'm going to outline our entire central park so that this area here is marked as a park area, right? The game will recognize it and so will the citizens. It's done! And now we need to make the pedestrian paths, right? Over here, since there's only the texture. So I'm also going to make all the paths here. Look, man, I'll tell you, this zoning grid here really gets in the way of seeing things. I made a path here and linked it to the bridge. He made a hole, a crater, all the way to the center of the earth. That's crazy, look. But let's go, we're almost done. We can't forget any path here, right? And I think I didn't forget any, right? From what I'm seeing here, I think I covered every path. Well, in these spaces, these wider spaces here, I'm going to put some food trucks here. Look, here, look, you can also put a crossing here between the paths, right? It seems to me there would be a lot too. Little shops here with street food. I'm putting a lot, look, around this central circle. In the central circle here, I had placed a pine tree, but I think I'm going to put a bandstand. I think this place is asking for a bandstand, right? See? This one even matches the color of the floor. I'm going to place it right here in the center. All right. Man, I'll tell you, I'm not excited to put benches because, man, they don't sit. And this takes a lot of work, having to keep rotating it here. Look. But I'll keep putting them here as long as my patience allows. This is already the most detailed park I've ever made in cities. Skylines too, right? And we don't even have a park downloadable content, which is a shame, right? I hope they focus on that more in the future. Okay, I put a lot of benches here along the sides of the paths, all right? It wasn't just a few, and I'm tired. I'm still going to need to add lights because at night it's going to be dark. So, we're going to go in here now. Look, in another episode to light this up, I think there's one here from the park, but man, it lights up so little. Game crashed. Wow, it's already 10:15. I started this episode at 2 in the afternoon, man, and the scene cut. It's already another day, 3 in the afternoon, and I've been redoing the whole park since 11 in the morning. Okay, this is my day when I was supposed to have a day off, but it didn't work out. Because, man, there was a terrible bug yesterday, and I stayed up until 2 in the morning trying to fix it, and I couldn't. Solution? Redo the park. Well, when the game crashed, every time I reloaded the save, the simulation was frozen. Nothing moved, not cars, not people, even with play or at speed 3, okay? The game would stay frozen for about 30 seconds while trying to unfreeze, then it would crash and close. So that was the maximum time I could keep the game open, 3 seconds. I was back to my luck. It's just that I have several autosaves here, okay? And I went back. Check out this autosave image. The park looks amazing. I went back, save by save, okay? Up until the moment the game stopped crashing. And that was basically when the park was empty, okay? That's it, man. I had to rebuild the park from scratch. That's why it has some differences, but they're really cool differences. I took advantage of my day off to rebuild it from scratch, taking my time. And anyway, there are some things that I think turned out much better because I took my time with it. Well, let's start from this southern part. So, look, we have access to the entrances here, right? There aren't any gates since it's not a fenced park, so you can use the crosswalks. There, look, you can see that it's already got lighting. The stalls are set up, and there are benches, okay? Well, we had this central square here, a circle, right? In the other park. And, well, I decided to replicate this idea with another circle here and another circle here and to make designs in these circles. Okay, so here's the sun square. I used a texture here, look, to make it look like a sun, and it turned out really cool. I placed the bandstand here, the vegetation detail, right? Since it's really close to the water, I took the opportunity to make a kind of small bathing area here. So this is the only spot without rocks. And there's this sand that's more exposed, standing out. Okay. Here I did the opposite. I made the Praça da Lua, right? I put in a fountain and made a moon style here. And if you notice, the illuminated side of the moon is facing the side where the sun is. So there's that reference. It turned out really cool, and I liked that. Working on the landscaping and the plaza up here. It's a compass rose, okay? It's a compass rose to show us the direction of progress. There are already many people here. I redid everything, okay? The paths, the invisible paths, the vegetation, the texture, the lighting, the little stalls, the benches, the stones. Man, it was a lot of work, even these stains. To simulate wear and tear, I added them. And people are walking, okay? They're walking a lot. Another difference, right? We had these 2 bridges here, right? Covered ones. They're really cool. Let's see if we catch someone crossing here, or maybe no one will cross. Let's watch this guy here. He's going. So, let's follow Annalise Evans. To get this view here, look, an immersive first-person perspective and see how this crossing over the bridge is. Well, guys, the view itself, at least, is sensational. It's incredible. The other bridge over there is also covered, okay? From there, we can see the pier. But the other bridge over there, look, I decided to make it a cable-stayed bridge. It's a bigger bridge that goes over the street that cuts through our central park here. So, to tell them apart, that one is cable-stayed, this one is covered. And man, what a view, huh? What a view. All this work was worth it. And I hope that if you didn't leave a like at the beginning of the episode, you leave your like now, because this turned out amazing. Let's get a view here. Look at the square and the little resort. Let's see. Look at that. How amazing, too. Here is the lake. The buildings are Empire State. Man, this is really beautiful. The little square here, too, look, with its bandstand. The lights are on even during the day, right? Weird. Here's a bench for sitting. I think she'll cross the cable-stayed bridge here. And this is the perfect opportunity for us to watch her cross. Not just over the lake, but also over the street that cuts through the park. A lot of people are actually using it to take a shortcut here, and look at how narrow it gets. I even put lighting on the bridge because for some reason the pedestrian bridge doesn't have any lighting, you know? And that's one of the kind of flaws in cities too. And here, man, the view. Here, the famous view. I'll even set the graphics to maximum so we can see this whole scenery even better, right? Now we even have the reflection of the buildings in the water here, man. So that's it. Awesome. It's a little more laggy, right? That's why I don't play like this with the maximum quality. My PC struggles a bit. Actually, I even wanted to upgrade it so I can keep this series going for many more episodes. But anyway, right? Here, I crossed the cable-stayed bridge, taking in a 360 view, right? There are buildings everywhere. And here's the street. The street people use as a shortcut through Central Park. Really cool. Let's check out the north side over there. I wish someone would go onto one of the piers so we could see the view from there. Let's check out the view from the square. Look how crowded and busy this square is, right? Let's check out a view here from Rosa dos Ventos Square. Look how amazing this is, man. It's really beautiful. Hey, buddy, how are you doing? It's awesome, okay? There's a monument here in the center of Rosa dos Ventos. This square is really great. Let's check out Praça da Lua on the other side. Look, Praça da Lua is here. It's a little emptier. That's because the south part of the city doesn't have as much... Man, with graphics on max, the game looks stunning, though there's still not much content, right? So this southern part here ends up having less movement. There's someone here, Caio Shelby. And here it is, look, the moon square. There's a fountain, the buildings, right? There's a lot of shade here. And he's also going to walk on the bridge over there. Well, I'm afraid to turn on night view and the game crashes because it happened right when I turned it on, right? The game crashed when I placed the street lights at night, but I'll try again so we can see the result. I'll even use the photo mode instead of the mod because the photo mode is native to the game, right? So I think there's less chance of something going wrong. And let's set it here. Look, 11 o'clock at night. Ah, cool, see? The paths and street lights I placed are lit up, right? It's just here on the bridge that there's no lighting, right? And I couldn't put any there either, but it's fine. Look, the squares are well lit and we have... Let's take a look here from underneath and see how it is. Let me even increase the camera's aperture here so we can get a wider image. Look how amazing that is, man. Man, this park turned out really beautiful, okay? The clouds, the sky, the stars, the buildings. Everything looks awesome. Look at the reflection of the buildings here in the water. That's so cool. Here, the passage, right, of the bridge. Here, the square. We have the Sun Square, and up ahead, the passage, right? From the street that cuts through the park. And everything is well lit here, look. Really, really cool, man. I liked it. I would walk in this park. I would want an apartment here in this park, okay? And that's it. I really hope from the bottom of my heart that you guys enjoyed it, that you liked it. And I'm gonna end the episode here. A lot of work went into this episode, but in the end, it was really worth it, man. Thank you to everyone who watched until now. Thanks to our council members whose names are appearing right now as a way of saying thanks. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. We're always together. A big hug to all of you. See you next time. See ya.